Throughout the history of the genre of RPGs, we've seen countless single-player games that allow the player to command a small group of followers. From the Final Fantasy series utilizing 3 or 4 party members, and the Suikoden series using 4 to 6 members at a time, to more modern-looking games like the Dragon Age series, once you figure out how many party members you can obtain at once, the next course of action is predictably the same: immediately searching out cool characters to fill up your party roster. Much like its predecessors, Fallout 4 comes with a wide variety of companions. Encountered during your travels and depending on your choices, companions are NPCs that will accompany and assist you along the way. The list of potential friends is incredibly diverse, ranging from humans to robots to mutants to dogs. There's two types of companions: permanent companions and temporary companions. Permanent companions, once recruited, will follow you around the wasteland wherever you go. They can accept specific commands from the player character, and they won't leave your side unless you either dismiss them or ruin your relationship with them by doing things they don't approve of. On the other hand, temporary companions don't take commands and will only follow you during certain portions of the game or in very specific areas. When people think of companions, they generally think of the permanent ones. You're only allowed to have one permanent companion following you at any given time, which would make your normal group count a party of 2. And if a temporary companion joins along the way, that would bring you up to 3 party members. This is generally what players consider to be a full party without using any mods: 3 total characters. But although you can only have one permanent companion, there's actually no specific cap on temporary companions. So in theory, depending on your choices, it could be possible to have a much larger group following you around the Commonwealth. Which brings me to the point of this entire video: how many companions can you have following you at the same time without using any mods? Previously, I made a video called "Can Travis Beat Fallout 4?" I obtained Travis as a temporary companion and then set out to finish the game, letting him do all the fighting. This is what originally sparked the question of just how many people could follow me. I began to dig in and find an answer, but since I was also obsessing with completing no-hit runs, at some point I set the challenge down and forgot about it. It wasn't until recently that I got a message from BingBongBoone suggesting the same idea that I decided to pick it back up. Bing is another Fallout 4 enthusiast. He's completed multiple no-hit runs himself, he's a wealth of information, and he's helped me plenty of times during my challenges. You can watch him complete no-hit runs live on Twitch, and I'll leave a link in the description so you can make sure to go check him out. Anyway, with the help of Bing, we jumped in and started figuring out exactly how this entire temporary companion system worked. So let's talk companion specifics. There's a total of 17 permanent companions, 13 in the Commonwealth, 2 from Automatron, 1 from Nuka World, and 1 from Far Harbor. But the permanent companion we'll be going with will be Dogmeat. This is because of the Lone Wanderer perk. Lone Wanderer grants the player additional carry weight, damage, damage resistance, and AP. This is provided that you don't have a permanent companion in your party. However, Dogmeat was originally intended to be an extra companion in addition to one permanent companion. Eventually, it was decided to make him a permanent companion, but the developers forgot to remove the tag in the code that marks him as permanent. And since temporary companions aren't counted as permanent ones, I could hypothetically end up with a large group while still reaping the benefits of Lone Wanderer. Not that this actually matters, I just thought it was mildly amusing. It should also be noted that some permanent companions also act as temporary companions at certain points in the game as well. Some examples are Nick Valentine temporarily joining you in Vault 114, or Deacon joining you while clearing out the switchboard. As far as temporary companions, the wiki has it officially listed as 24 total: Honest Dan, High Rise, H222, Travis Miles, Jack Cabot, Mel, Bobby No-Nos, Sonia, Glory, Rex Goodman, Brotherhood Squire, Brotherhood Scribe, Ali Fillmore, X418, Arthur Maxon, Paladin Brandis, Knight Lucia, Proctor Ingram, Billy Peabody, a settler in the Commonwealth and a settler in Far Harbor, Pearl, Cito, and Cleansed. The list isn't necessarily an accurate list for this challenge. For example, Deacon can either be a temporary companion or a permanent one depending on your choices, which I'll cover later. Still, the wiki's list of temporary companions is a great reference to start with. Now, before we go over the various traits that each temporary companion has, let's establish what's not a temporary companion in this challenge. Just because an NPC is allied with you doesn't necessarily make them a companion. A companion needs to actively follow you as you traverse the area. If the NPC travels forward on their own, requiring you to follow them, we won't consider these temporary companions. An example of this would be High Rise and H2 during the Boston After Dark quest. Similarly, a robot that is hacked through use of the magazine and Watts Electronics does not count as a companion either. Someone also asked about the Mysterious Stranger perk. While he is way cool, no, he's not considered a companion. And lastly, for the purposes of this video, companions should be acquired through quest dialogue, not through pacification. Raising the Intimidation, Wasteland Whisperer, or Animal Friend perks to level 3 will allow you to temporarily pacify enemies and give them specific commands. Enemies will return to being hostile for things like sitting in a chair, accessing a terminal, and zoning, among other things. But ultimately, I decided to leave out pacification for another video at another time. So back to the traits of temporary companions. I had to manually test each one to figure out if they were viable. And I found that not all of the companions listed behave the same. Some will actively assist you in battle, while others will flee. Some can fast travel, while others will just glitch out of your active party. Some companions are unable to enter underground zones. Some are invincible, while others can be killed. There's also companions that only join for one quest and are locked to that particular zone. But entering that quest causes another companion to disappear. This makes the quest lock companion unviable since you essentially gain one just to lose another. And finally, some of the temporary companions that were listed don't actually count since they won't actively follow you. So from the original 24 listed on the wiki, let's start from the top. Honest Dan joins up during the quest Human Error and meets you in the tunnel outside Sanctuary. If you exit the tunnel after speaking with him, he follows outside. From here, he'll remain as a temporary companion under 3 conditions. 1, you don't fast travel. 2, you don't exit or reload the game. And 3, you stay in the Commonwealth and don't travel to Nuka World or Far Harbor. If you do any of those 3 things, he says that he'll meet you back at Covenant and then walks back to the tunnel. While following you, Honest Dan can't be killed and he will attack nearby enemies. As I mentioned earlier, High Rise and H2 join in the Boston After Dark quest. However, they don't actually follow the player character, so neither of them count. Travis joins up during the Confidence Man quest and meets you outside of Beantown Brewery. But as long as you don't finish the quest, he'll follow you almost anywhere for the remainder of the game. Travis will attack nearby enemies, and he also can't be killed. Jack Cabot joins up during the Secret of Cabot House quest, but doesn't actually follow the player, so he doesn't count either. Mel, Bobby No-Nos, and Sonia all 3 join up in the Big Dig quest. They unfortunately are locked within the underground portion of the mission. They won't follow you outside or fast travel, so you can only use them during this portion of the quest. They attack nearby enemies, but can also turn hostile if you attack them. Glory is found during Memory Interrupted, but since you lose a companion while grouping with her, she's not a viable temporary companion. Rex Goodman is part of the Curtain Call quest, but isn't viable for the same reason as Glory. The Brotherhood Squire joins up during the Lead by Example quest. Since the Squire is a child, they don't actually attack enemies. They cannot be harmed, and will follow the player character as long as the quest is still active. The Brotherhood Scribe joins during the Learning Curve quest, and will attack nearby enemies. They can also fast travel, but unfortunately they can be killed, so it's better to obtain them last if you can. Ali Fillmore is quest locked with Mass Fusion, and like Glory and Rex Goodman, is not a viable companion. X418 travels on his own during the Battle of Bunker Hill, so he doesn't count. Arthur Maxon, Paladin Brandis, and Knight Lucia all 3 join your party during the Nuclear Option quest. All 3 attack enemies, and all 3 are locked in the quest. Since this is during the ending of the Brotherhood questline, they won't leave with you or fast travel anywhere, so they can only be used during this very specific part of the game. Proctor Ingram is quest locked during the Spoils of War quest, so using her means losing another companion, making her unviable. Billy Peabody can be found inside a refrigerator and will follow you until you complete the Kid in a Fridge quest. He doesn't attack enemies, but he is invincible. He can fast travel with you, but for some reason he won't enter certain underground areas. You can gain a settler during the variable quest Kidnapping in the Commonwealth or Trapper Attack in Far Harbor. During the kidnapping, however, the settler is locked in the quest location and will leave your party if you exit the area. Pearl over in Far Harbor can join your party during the quest Brain Dead. However, by entering Far Harbor, you automatically lose Dan, making her unviable. Sito in Nuka World temporarily joins you during the quest Safari Adventure, and he does attack other enemies. Entering Nuka World also causes Dan to leave your party, but you can convince Sito to bring along a gorilla, bringing your total party count up by 1. Unfortunately, the two are area locked and will not leave the Safari Adventure Zone. You can find the Cleansed in Nuka World as well, however, losing Dan in order to obtain him makes the Cleansed unviable. And finally, the only temporary companion that's not in the list, Deacon. When joining the railroad, Deacon will tag along while clearing out the switchboard. Once outside, he'll tell you how you make a great team and that he'll meet you back at the railroad headquarters. But as long as you don't talk to him, he'll continue to follow you throughout the map. If you zone or fast travel, however, he leaves your party. As a temporary companion, Deacon is invincible and will also attack nearby enemies. Now, with all of this in mind, let's figure out how many temporary companions we can have at once. I started out by grabbing Dogmeat first. Next was Travis. Then on to Billy in the refrigerator. After that, we obtained the Squire, then the Scribe. Including the player character, this brought the party up to 6. From here, I started the Railroad questline and then moved on to the Covenant questline. I brought Honest Dan with me to meet Deacon, and this brought the party to the largest size so far, 8. The original plan was to finish with the Brotherhood of Steel ending. My theory was the 3 extra party members from the final mission would potentially give us the largest size group. First, I learned that by going this route, Honest Dan and Deacon wouldn't be able to join us. A decent setback, losing 2 members, but I pushed on anyway. Unfortunately, by the time I reached the Institute during the Nuclear Option quest, the plan crumbled. Once you enter the Institute, all temporary companions disappear except for Maxon, Brandis, and a Brotherhood NPC. So the party count was reduced to only 4. With the Brotherhood out, the next plan was to try obtaining Sito and his gorilla in Nuka World. After heading over, I realized that Dan and the Scribe wouldn't come to Nuka World. Without Deacon either, obtaining Sito and Chris would still only bring the party count to 7. And since Sito and the gorilla wouldn't leave the Safari Zone, ultimately this plan wasn't going to work. So then, I tried going the route of completing the Big Dig. After getting far enough in the quest, I headed over to Goodneighbor with the Scribe, the Squire, Dogmeat, Travis, Dan, Billy, and myself. Once we got underground though, I realized that Dan and Billy were gone. So after obtaining Bobby, Mel, and Sonia, this brought our party count to 8. And this finally brings us to our answer. The total number of companions that can follow you at any given time is 7, which makes the final party count 8. If you're above ground in the Commonwealth, your group consists of Honest Dan, Billy, the Squire, the Scribe, Travis, Deacon, Dogmeat, and the player. If you're underground, your group consists of Sonia, Bobby, Mel, the Squire, the Scribe, Travis, Dogmeat, and the player. This video took me way longer to make than it should have, and I'm sorry for the delay. If you enjoyed watching this, please hit that like button. And in the meantime, you can also watch me live on Twitch as well. I'm Chris the Key. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
The key. Weird.